They thought they were finding support from a fan who understood their mother's plight. They had no idea they were giving family secrets directly to the enemy. For years, we have watched the saga of Jenny and Sumit, a story of love against all odds, a battle against cultural norms, family disapproval, and the relentless pressure from Sumit's mother, Sahna. We've seen the tears, the arguments, the ultimatums. We thought we had seen every possible tactic a disapproving mother could deploy to break up a relationship she deemed unworthy. We were wrong. What we are about to reveal is a new level of manipulation, a digital age deception so calculated and cold-blooded, it redefines the very nature of this family conflict. This isn't just about arguments over the dinner table anymore. This is about espionage. This is the story of the reverse catfish, a secret online persona meticulously crafted to infiltrate, befriend, and spy on Jenny's own daughters. Before we dive deep into the shocking evidence, the leaked messages, and the digital trail that leads directly to Sahna's doorstep, do us a huge favor. If you love getting the real, behind-the-scenes stories that no one else is talking about, hit that like button right now. And if you're not already subscribed, click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You are not going to want to miss a single update on this developing story. Trust me, what you're about to hear will change how you see this family forever. Let's begin by setting the stage. The war between Sahna and Jenny has never been a cold one. It has been a hot, raging fire of disapproval from day one. Sahna has made her feelings clear through every available medium. Verbal confrontations, emotional blackmail, threats of disownment, and even involving family astrologers to declare the union cursed. Her opposition is the central pillar of Jenny and Sumit's narrative, the great obstacle they have spent a decade trying to overcome. We, the viewers, have often sympathized with Jenny, an older American woman who gave up everything for love, only to be met with a wall of hostility from the woman who was supposed to become her new family. We've also seen the immense pressure this puts on Sumit, a man torn between the woman he loves and the mother he is culturally bound to obey and respect. Jenny's support system has largely been her daughters, Christina and Dominique. Living thousands of miles away in America, they have been her rock, her confidants, her connection to home. They have defended her on social media, offered her financial and emotional support, and served as her primary sounding board for every new crisis that erupted in India. Their social media pages are a testament to their love for their mother, filled with pictures, supportive messages, and interactions with the vast community of 90 Day Fiancé fans. And it is here in the open, seemingly safe space of social media that Sahna allegedly launched her most audacious and sinister attack. It started subtly, as these things always do. A new follower, a friendly comment. The profile was unassuming, almost cliché in its wholesome presentation. The name was Carol Miller. The profile picture showed a pleasant, smiling, middle-aged woman with a neat blonde bob and kind eyes, wearing a simple denim jacket. Her bio read, Carol from Ohio, mom, grandma, and lover of life. Standing with Jenny and Sumit, true love always wins. To any of Jenny's daughters, Carol from Ohio would have looked like thousands of other fans. She was the quintessential supportive Midwestern American woman who saw Jenny's story and felt a kinship. She was one of them. Carol began commenting on Christina's posts about her mother. The comments were always positive, always encouraging. You are such a wonderful daughter, Christina. Your mom is so lucky to have you in her corner. Don't listen to the haters. Your mother's love for Sumit is the real deal. I can see it. Sending prayers and positive vibes from Ohio to your beautiful family. These comments were a balm in a sea of online toxicity. While many fans are supportive, there is always a vocal minority who leave cruel or critical remarks. Carol was different. She was a beacon of pure, unadulterated support. She never wavered. She never criticized me. She was the perfect fan. Slowly and patiently, Carol integrated herself into the small community of dedicated pro-Jenny supporters. She would reply to other fans' comments, agreeing with them, fostering a sense of community. She became a familiar, comforting presence. After a few weeks of consistent public support, she took the next step. She slid into Christina's direct messages. The first message was simple, a response to an Instagram story Christina had posted about a difficult phone call with her mom. Carol wrote, Hi, Christina. I just saw your story. I hope your mom is doing okay. It must be so hard for her and for you, being so far away. I just wanted to send some extra love. You don't have to reply, just thinking of you all. Carol, it was the perfect message. It was empathetic, respectful of boundaries, and demanded nothing in return. It was designed to build trust. Christina, likely touched by the gesture from the superfan, replied with a polite thank you. And with that, the door was opened. The direct line of communication was established. Over the following months, Carol from Ohio became a regular correspondent. She was the sympathetic ear, the shoulder to cry on, the stranger who just got it. She and Christina would exchange messages about the show, about the challenges Jenny was facing, about the family's frustrations with Sahna. Carol was a master at validating their feelings. "I can't believe Sahna said that," she would write. "That is just so cruel. Your poor mother. How does she cope?" She made them feel seen. She made them feel heard. And in doing so, she made them feel safe. But Carol wasn't just offering sympathy. She was collecting data. The first cracks in the facade began to appear not to the family, who were too close to the situation, but to an outsider, a member of the vast, detail-oriented, and often obsessive online fan community. A Reddit user, who we will refer to as 90-Day Sleuth, started noticing something odd about Carol from Ohio. This user, a longtime moderator of a popular 90-Day Fiancé discussion forum, had a knack for spotting inauthentic behavior. The first thing that raised a red flag for 90-Day Sleuth was the sheer perfection of Carol's persona. She was a little too perfect. Her support was unwavering to the point of being robotic. She never expressed a single nuanced thought, never deviated from the Team Jenny script. Every comment was a variation of the same syrupy sweet encouragement. For a real person, this is unusual. Real people have complex opinions. They might support Jenny but question one of her decisions. They might love Sumit but get frustrated with his inability to stand up to his parents. Carol had no such complexities. She was a caricature of a supportive fan. The second red flag was Carol's online activity. It was relentless. She commented on every single post from Christina, Dominique, and even fan accounts that reposted content about Jenny. She was often the very first person to comment, within minutes of a post going live, regardless of the time of day. For a grandma from Ohio, her response time was astonishing. It suggested someone who was monitoring these accounts with an almost obsessive full-time dedication. This level of engagement felt less like a hobby and more like a job. Intrigued and suspicious, 90-Day Sleuth decided to do a little digging. The process started with something simple, something anyone can do. They did a reverse image search on Carol's profile picture. For those who don't know, a reverse image search allows you to take an image and search the internet for other places where the same image appears. It's a powerful tool for verifying identity and sniffing out fake profiles, or what are commonly known as catfish. The results came back almost instantly, and they were damning. The friendly, smiling face of Carol from Ohio was not Carol from Ohio. It was a stock photograph. The same image appeared on dozens of websites. She was the face on a brochure for a dental clinic in Arizona. She was a satisfied customer on a website selling retirement plans in Florida. She was a friendly local realtor on a template website for a real estate agency in California. The woman in the picture was a model. Her image sold for a few dollars to anyone who wanted to project an aura of trustworthy middle-aged American wholesomeness. Carol Miller did not exist. She was a complete fabrication. This discovery was explosive. 90-Day Sleuth immediately posted their findings on the Reddit forum. The thread went viral within the fan community. The stock photo evidence was undeniable. But it raised a more sinister question. Who was behind the Carol account, and what was their motive? Was it just a random internet troll with too much time on their hands? Or was it something more targeted? The speculation ran wild. Some thought it could be a rival blogger trying to get a scoop. Others thought it might be a producer from the show trying to stir up drama. But 90-Day Sleuth and a few other tech-savvy members of the community had a darker theory. The profile's sole focus, its unwavering mission, was to get close to Jenny's daughters and gather information. The relentless positivity was a cover. The empathetic DMs were an interrogation technique. The only person with a strong enough motive to mount such a dedicated long-term intelligence-gathering operation was the family's #1 adversary, Sahna. Of course, a theory is one thing, proof is another. How could they possibly link a fake profile using a stock photo to a specific person on the other side of the world? This is where the investigation went to the next level. The group of online sleuths knew that simply confronting the account would get them nowhere. The person behind it would just deny everything and delete the profile, erasing the evidence. They needed something concrete, something that couldn't be denied. They needed to find the account's digital fingerprint, its IP address. An IP address is a unique number assigned to every device connected to the internet. While it doesn't give you a person's home address, it can reveal the general geographic location, the city, and sometimes even the neighborhood from which a person is accessing the internet. The challenge was getting Carol to click on something that would capture that IP address. The sleuths devised a plan. One of them, using a separate, innocuous-looking fan account, engaged Carol in a friendly conversation in the comments section of one of Christina's posts. After a bit of back and forth, the sleuth sent Carol a direct message. "Hey Carol," the message read, "I saw you're a huge Jenny fan too. I found this really sweet blog post someone wrote about her journey. You'll love it. Here's the link." The link, however, did not go to a blog post. It went to a special tracking website that, once clicked, would silently log the visitor's IP address. It was a digital trap. They sent the message and they waited. For hours, there was no activity. They started to think the person behind the account was too cautious, that their plan had failed. Then they got a notification. The link had been clicked. They had the IP address. They immediately ran the IP address through a geolocation database. The results that came back sent a chill down their spines. The IP address did not trace back to Ohio. It didn't trace back to anywhere in North America. The IP address originated from a residential internet service provider in Delhi, India. But it got even more specific. The database was able to pinpoint the service area for this block of IP addresses to a particular neighborhood, a specific suburb of Delhi. With a few quick Google searches, cross-referencing information Sumit had mentioned in old blog posts and on the show about where his parents lived, they confirmed it. The IP address used to access the Carol from Ohio account originated from the exact same neighborhood where Sahna and Anil live. The chances of this being a coincidence were astronomically small. It was the digital equivalent of finding a suspect's fingerprint at a crime scene. But the evidence didn't stop there. The sleuths also noticed that the account was created using a temporary or throwaway email address. This is a common tactic used by people who want to remain anonymous online. Furthermore, the pattern of activity, the times of day the account was most active, corresponded perfectly with daytime and evening hours in India, not Ohio. The good morning messages to Christina were being sent in the late evening Delhi time. The good night wishes were sent over breakfast. The entire operation was being run on an Indian clock. The theory was no longer a theory, it was a near certainty. Sahna, or someone acting on her direct orders, had created this fake identity. But the question remained, was Sahna, a woman who often seems mystified by modern life, capable of pulling off such a sophisticated digital deception on her own? The consensus among the investigators was, probably not. This operation had a level of technical and cultural savvy that suggested a younger, more internet-literate accomplice. The most likely scenario, according to the insider report, is that Sahna was the mastermind, the director of the operation, but she had help from a younger relative. A nephew, a niece, or even one of Sumit's cousins. Someone who could set up the fake email and social media profiles, find the perfect American stock photo, and coach Sahna on how to talk like a sympathetic American fan. This accomplice would handle the technical side, while Sahna dictated the strategy, the questions to ask, the information to gather. She was the spy master. She just had a tech-savvy agent doing her field work. This explains the flawless American English, the use of appropriate slang and emojis, and the general understanding of a Western fan's perspective. Sahna provided the motive and the mission. Her accomplice provided the means and the cover. It was a two-person job. And what was the mission? It was a pure intelligence-gathering operation designed to find vulnerabilities and ammunition to use against Jenny. And thanks to a source who was able to provide screenshots of these direct messages, we now know exactly what kind of information Carol from Ohio was trying to extract from an unsuspecting Christina. The conversations which we have been able to review show a clear escalation in the intrusiveness of the questioning. It started with general emotional well-being. How is your mom really holding up? She seems so strong on the show, but this must be taking a terrible toll on her. This was designed to elicit information about Jenny's mental state, her moments of weakness, her private fears. Then the questions pivoted to a far more sensitive topic, money. This has always been a point of contention for Sahna, who likely believes Jenny is a financial drain on her son. Carol's questions were sharp and specific, but always wrapped in a cloak of deep concern. One message reads, "I just worry about your mom's financial situation. Is Sumit able to provide for her properly? It must be so expensive living there." When Christina gave a vague answer, Carol pressed, becoming more specific. A follow-up message, and this is a direct quote from the leaked screenshots. is the one that truly proves the intent behind this entire operation. Carol asks, I know this is personal, so please don't feel you have to answer, but is your mom getting all of her Social Security money over there? I've heard it can be difficult with international banking. I just hope she's being smart and protecting herself. This is not an idle question from a concerned fan. This is a targeted inquiry into Jenny's primary source of income. Sahna wanted to know the exact details of Jenny's finances. Was she stable? Was she vulnerable? But the most damning question came a few weeks later. After building up months of trust, Carol went for the jugular. She sent a message that read, Christina, I have to ask you something, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. A friend of mine was in a similar situation with a foreign husband, and her husband's family was very difficult. She told me the best thing she ever did was keep a separate bank account that her husband didn't know about. Just a little escape fund in case things went bad. Does your mom have a secret bank account Sumit doesn't know about? It would be the smart thing to do to protect herself. This is breathtaking in its audacity. Posing as a friend, Carol was actively trying to uncover if Jenny was hiding assets from Sumit. This is the kind of information that, in the wrong hands, could be used to destroy a marriage. Sahna could take this information, twist it, and present it to Sumit as proof that Jenny didn't trust him, that she had one foot out the door, that she was secretly plotting to leave him. She could paint Jenny as a deceitful, money-hoarding foreigner who was taking advantage of her son. The Carol persona was asking leading questions, planting seeds of doubt, and fishing for secrets that could be weaponized. The questions weren't just about money. Carol also probed for details about Jenny's immigration status. Has your mom looked into getting permanent residency? What's the process for that? Is Sumit's family trying to block it? She also asked about Jenny's health, her private conversations with Sumit, and whether Jenny ever expressed regrets about moving to India. Every question was a carefully aimed dart designed to gather intelligence on Jenny's finances, her legal status, her emotional state, and the intimate dynamics of her marriage. The sympathetic American fan was, in reality, a spy, and she had a direct, unfiltered line into the private lives and worries of her target's own family. She was using their love and concern for their mother as a weapon against her. The scale of the betrayal is almost unimaginable. For months, Christina and her sister had been confiding in their mother's greatest adversary, giving her the very ammunition she needed to continue her war. They thought they were talking to a friend. They were actually writing intelligence briefings for the enemy. The trap had been sprung, and they were caught right in the middle of it. The digital front in the war for Sumit's heart had been established, and Jenny's side didn't even know it existed, until now. The revelation of the Carol from Ohio operations sent shockwaves through the online community that had uncovered it. But the knowledge was contained within a relatively small group of dedicated sleuths. The most crucial and difficult step was yet to come: informing the family. The person we're calling 90-Day Sleuth felt a moral obligation to share what they had found. They managed to make contact with Christina through a mutual acquaintance, a well-known 90-Day Fiancé blogger who had previously interviewed her. They laid out the evidence carefully and methodically: the stock photo, the IP address trace, the suspicious patterns of behavior, and the theory about who was behind it. For Christina, the news was, by all accounts, devastating. It was a multi-layered betrayal. First, there was the violation of her own privacy. She had opened up to this person, shared her family's private struggles, her deepest worries for her mother. She had treated Carol as a genuine confidant. To learn that it was all a lie, a calculated deception, was a profound shock. Then came the horrifying realization of who was behind it. It wasn't just a random troll, it was Sahna. The woman who had caused her mother so much pain had now targeted her and her sister, manipulating their emotions to her own advantage. It was a level of vindictive, strategic cruelty that was hard to comprehend. The anonymous online friend was actually the monster-in-law. Imagine the sickening feeling in the pit of her stomach as she scrolled back through months of messages with Carol, rereading every interaction through this new, horrifying lens. Every "I'm so sorry you're going through this" was now a lie. Every "your mom is so strong" was a hollow platitude. Every probing question about money or her mother's emotional state was no longer an expression of concern, but an act of espionage. She and her sister had been, in essence, unwitting informants against their own mother. They had been used in the most personal way imaginable. Their own words, their own worries, their own love for Jenny had been cataloged and filed away, ready to be deployed as weapons in Sahna's relentless campaign. After the initial shock, the feeling turned to a cold, hard anger. Christina and her sister Dominique had to decide what to do. They now held the evidence of a massive deception. Their first instinct might have been to unleash a public firestorm, to expose the Carol from Ohio account to the world. But they chose a different, more direct path. They decided to confront the puppet master, or at least the puppet, directly. They chose to orchestrate the reckoning themselves. Christina, with her sister's support, crafted a final message to her friend, Carol from Ohio. The message was not emotional or accusatory. It was cold, factual, and utterly devastating. She didn't scream or curse. She simply laid out the evidence, piece by undeniable piece. She attached the screenshot of the reverse image search results, showing the Carol photo on the dental website and the real estate brochure. She then wrote a simple, chilling message. It said something to the effect of, "We know who you are, we know this is a fake profile, and we know who is behind it." She then sent a second message containing the information about the IP address. Funny how a grandma from Ohio has an internet connection that traces back to a very specific neighborhood in Delhi, the same neighborhood where Sumit's parents live. She laid the trap bare. She let the person on the other end know that the game was up, that their cover was not just blown, but obliterated. Then she waited for a response. What would Carol do? Would she deny it? Would she try to lie her way out of it, claiming she was a friend of Sahna's, or that it was all a giant misunderstanding? Would she lash out in anger? The response that came was perhaps the most damning of all. It was absolute, deafening silence. For about 5 minutes, the message sat there, marked as seen. The person on the other end had read it. They knew they were caught, and then something happened that confirmed their guilt beyond any shadow of a doubt. Christina went back to Carol's profile page to see if there was any activity. The page was gone. A user not found error appeared on the screen. The account had been instantaneously deleted. The entire digital existence of Carol from Ohio, her months of comments, her supportive messages, her carefully constructed history, all of it vanished in a single click. It was a digital admission of guilt, a panicked flight from the scene of the crime. There was no denial, no defense, just the desperate act of a spy scrubbing their identity after their cover has been blown. The reckoning was swift and silent, but the fallout was just beginning. For Christina and Dominique, the immediate deletion of the account was the final, horrifying confirmation. Their mother's adversary had a direct line into their family's most private conversations. They had to make one of the most difficult phone calls of their lives. They had to call Jenny and tell her what had happened. Imagine that conversation. Jenny, already living under the constant stress of Sahna's disapproval, now had to learn that her mother-in-law's campaign against her had escalated into a covert spying operation targeting her own children. This wasn't just about disapproval anymore. This was a violation, a deep, personal, and terrifying one. For Jenny, this news would likely have been a complex mix of emotions. Fear, certainly. The paranoia that must come with knowing your every weakness is being probed and cataloged is immense. But also, perhaps, a grim lack of surprise. After everything Sahna had done over the years, from hiding Sumit's first marriage to threatening self-harm, was a sophisticated catfish operation really beyond the realm of possibility? This act confirmed what Jenny probably knew in her heart all along, that Sahna would stop at literally nothing to get what she wanted. There were no lines she would not cross, no tactic she would not employ. The next and perhaps most critical piece of the fallout is Sumit. How does this revelation affect him and his marriage to Jenny? This is where the situation becomes incredibly volatile. Jenny is now armed with concrete proof of his mother's extreme manipulative behavior. She has the screenshots, the IP trace, the story from her daughters. She can go to Sumit and say, "This is what your mother is doing. She created a fake person to trick my daughters into giving up family secrets." How does Sumit react? The man has spent a decade caught between these two women. His instinct is often to placate, to smooth things over, to try and find a middle ground where none exists. But there is no middle ground here. This is not a simple disagreement. This is a calculated act of deception. Does he believe it? He might be in denial at first. He might defend his mother, suggesting it's a misunderstanding or that someone is framing her. But the digital evidence is hard to refute. Once he accepts the truth, what does he do? Does he confront Sahna? Imagine that confrontation. Sahna would likely deny everything, play the victim, and accuse Jenny and her daughters of fabricating the story to make her look bad and to drive a wedge between her and her son. She would use emotional blackmail, tears, and every tool in her manipulative arsenal. This would put Sumit in an impossible position. He is forced, finally, to choose a side in a way he never has before. Does he believe the hard, digital evidence presented by his wife and her family? Or does he believe the tearful denials of the mother to whom he is culturally indebted? This single event has the power to either finally sever the toxic hold his parents have on him, or to shatter the trust in his marriage to Jenny completely. If he fails to stand with Jenny against this, if he makes excuses for his mother's actions, how can their marriage possibly survive? The Carol from Ohio scheme may have been designed to find a way to break Jenny and Sumit up. And ironically, the discovery of the scheme might be the very thing that accomplishes that goal. Let's analyze the endgame. What was Sahna hoping to achieve with the information she gathered? This wasn't just idle gossip. It was a targeted intelligence operation with specific objectives. Based on the line of questioning, we can theorize a few potential endgames. First, the financial angle. By confirming the details of Jenny's social security and searching for a secret bank account, Sahna was likely gathering ammunition to paint Jenny as a financial predator. She could tell Sumit, "See, she is hiding money from you. She doesn't see her money as your money. She is an American who only cares about herself. She will drain you dry and then leave you when her escape fund is big enough." In a culture where family finances are often communal, this accusation of financial secrecy could be incredibly damaging. Second, the immigration angle. By probing into Jenny's visa and residency status, Sahna may have been looking for a loophole, a legal technicality she could exploit. Was Jenny's paperwork in order? Was there a mistake that could be reported? Could she find a way to get Jenny's visa revoked and have her deported? This would be the ultimate victory for Sahna, removing Jenny from the country permanently. Third, and perhaps most insidiously, was the emotional manipulation angle. By learning about Jenny's moments of weakness, her private fears, her arguments with Sumit, Sahna could feed this information back to Sumit, twisting it to her advantage. "Sumit, I heard Jenny is very unhappy. She told her daughter she regrets moving here. She misses America. She is not committed to you. You need to let her go, for her own good and for yours." She could use Jenny's own private feelings, relayed in confidence by her daughters, as proof that the marriage was a failure. This entire episode marks a new chapter in the 90-Day Fiancé universe. The drama is no longer confined to what we see on camera. The families are now engaged in off-screen digital warfare. The conflict has a new front, fought with fake profiles, IP trackers, and information leaks. It transforms a family dispute into something that feels more like a modern espionage thriller. The realization for Jenny's family is that they are not just dealing with a difficult mother-in-law. They are dealing with a determined, strategic adversary who is willing to use the tools of the digital age to surveil and subvert them. They now have to live with the paranoia that any friendly stranger online could be another Carol. They have to lock down their social media, question every interaction, and treat their digital lives as a security risk. The trust that was violated is not just between them and Sahna. It's a violation of their sense of safety in the online world itself. Sahna didn't just expose family secrets. She exposed how vulnerable we all are to this new form of psychological warfare. The war for Sumit's future is no longer just being fought in his home in India. It's being fought on servers and social media platforms across the globe, in the direct messages of the people Jenny loves the most. A mother-in-law's fury meets the digital age. This is a new level of manipulative spying. What is the most shocking part of this deception? Let us know below. The digital ghost of Carol from Ohio had been exorcised with a single click, but her haunting presence was only just beginning to be felt. The immediate deletion of the account was a confession in its purest form. It was a panicked retreat, a digital admission of guilt so absolute that it left no room for doubt. For Christina and Dominique, the confirmation was sickening. They had been the unwitting pawns in a sophisticated game of psychological warfare orchestrated by their mother's chief tormentor. The war wasn't just at the gates. It had been inside their house, reading their mail, listening to their phone calls for months. And now, the true fallout, the emotional and relational shrapnel from this digital bomb, was set to explode, threatening to level the fragile peace Jenny and Sumit had fought so hard to build. Let's dissect the genius and the sheer malice of the Carol from Ohio persona. This was not a hastily created troll account. This was a masterpiece of character creation, designed with a specific target demographic in mind: Jenny's American daughters. Why Carol? The name itself is perfect: common, friendly, unthreatening. Why from Ohio? It evokes a sense of the American heartland, of solid, no-nonsense Midwestern values. It's a place far removed from the complexities of India, a place that would feel familiar and safe to Christina. Why a mom and grandma? This was the masterstroke. It created an immediate peer-to-peer connection. This wasn't just a fan. This was a woman who understood the worries of a mother, the love of a grandmother. She was positioned as an equal, a kindred spirit who could empathize with Jenny's situation on a maternal level. Every element of the profile was meticulously calibrated to disarm, to build rapport, and to bypass the natural skepticism one might have towards a stranger on the internet. Sahna, or her operative, knew that Christina would never confide in a young, anonymous fan account. But a sweet, slightly older woman who reminded her of her friend's mothers back home? That was the perfect key to unlock the door to the family's inner sanctum. The deception reveals a level of cunning and strategic thinking in Sahna that we, the viewers, have perhaps underestimated. On the show, she often presents as driven by raw, unfiltered emotion. Her objections seem rooted in tradition, honor, and a visceral, almost primal rejection of Jenny. She can appear unsophisticated, even theatrical, in her outbursts. But the Carol operation shows a different side of her. It shows a cold, calculating, and patient strategist. This wasn't an emotional outburst. This was a long con. It required months of patience, carefully building trust, playing the part day after day, and waiting for the right moments to probe for information. It shows a capacity for long-term planning and a deep understanding of psychological manipulation. The Sahna who cries and wails and threatens is the public face. The Sahna who can allegedly orchestrate a reverse catfish operation is the private and far more dangerous reality. She has demonstrated that she is capable of wearing a mask, of feigning friendship and sympathy in order to achieve her ultimate goal, the destruction of her son's marriage. This duality makes her a far more formidable adversary than we ever thought. She is not just a roadblock, she is a saboteur, working silently in the shadows. This brings us to the inevitable question of the accomplice. As we theorized, it's highly unlikely Sahna pulled this off alone. The technical setup, the flawless American English, the cultural nuances, it all points to a younger, more tech-literate Confederate. This wasn't just help, this was a partnership in deception. Who in their family circle would be willing to participate in such a cruel and elaborate scheme? The accomplice is not a passive participant. They are actively complicit in the spying. They would have been the one typing the messages, offering the fake sympathy, and relaying the gathered intelligence back to Sahna. Their motivation is a dark and fascinating question. Is it a younger cousin or nephew who is fiercely loyal to the family matriarch? Is it someone who also disapproves of the marriage and sees this as their duty? Or more cynically, is there financial motivation? Is Sahna rewarding this person for their assistance in the holy war against Jenny? The existence of this accomplice deepens the conspiracy. It means this isn't just one rogue mother-in-law. It's a faction within the family, a small, covert cell working to undermine Jenny from within. This realization must be terrifying for both Jenny and Sumit. Who can they trust? Is every smile from a family member genuine? Is every kind word a lie? The poison of this deception spreads, casting suspicion on everyone. The family is no longer just divided. It is potentially riddled with spies. Now we must turn to the epicenter of this earthquake, Sumit, the man in the middle. The discovery of his mother's digital espionage forces him into the most difficult position of his life. For a decade, he has tried to perform an impossible balancing act, appeasing his parents while holding on to his love for Jenny. He has absorbed their emotional blackmail, endured their ultimatums, and constantly tried to broker a peace that was never possible. He has often been criticized for not being strong enough, for not defending Jenny forcefully enough. But this is a new test. This isn't about his mother's feelings or her disapproval. This is about his mother actively and maliciously targeting his wife's children. This is an act of aggression. When Jenny comes to him with the evidence, the screenshots of the stock photo, the IP address from Delhi, the manipulative questions from Carol, how does he react? There are a few possibilities, each with profound consequences for his marriage. The first possibility is denial. His immediate gut reaction might be to protect his mother. "My mother would never do this," he might say. "She doesn't even know how to use Facebook properly. Someone is trying to frame her. Jenny, you and your daughters are misunderstanding." This response, while perhaps understandable as a first instinct for a man deeply conditioned to defend his parents, would be catastrophic for his marriage. For Jenny, this would be the ultimate betrayal. She would see it as him choosing, once again, to believe his manipulative mother over the concrete proof she and her daughters have provided. It would prove to her that, when the chips are down, Sumit will always side with his family of origin, leaving her isolated and unprotected. If he chooses denial, the trust that forms the bedrock of their marriage will crumble into dust. It might be the one blow from which they cannot recover. The second possibility is a reluctant acceptance, followed by weak action. He might look at the evidence and realize it's undeniable. He might accept that his mother did it, but then try to downplay its significance. Okay, she did it, but she is an old woman. She is desperate. She doesn't understand this is wrong. She just loves me and is worried. Let's just forget about it and move on. Let's not make a big deal. This is the classic Sumit move, avoidance and pacification. He would be trying to put the lid back on a pot that is boiling over. For Jenny, this would be almost as bad as denial. It would be an invalidation of the deep violation she and her daughters have experienced. It's not just a mistake. It was a calculated months-long campaign of deceit. For him to treat it as a minor transgression would show a fundamental disconnect from the severity of the situation. It would tell Jenny that he is willing to tolerate any level of toxic behavior from his mother as long as it keeps the peace. A marriage cannot survive when one partner is constantly being asked to absorb abuse for the sake of the other's comfort. The third and most difficult possibility is that Sumit finally accepts the full truth and takes decisive action. This would mean he looks at the evidence, confronts his mother, and unequivocally sides with his wife. This would be the moment many fans have been waiting for, the moment he finally chooses his new family over his old one. It would require him to have a monumental confrontation with Sahna, a confrontation where he doesn't back down, where he presents the evidence and demands an explanation, where he is not swayed by her tears or her denials or her attempts to play the victim. He would have to say, "Mother, I know what you did. You spied on my wife's daughters. You lied to them. This is unacceptable. You have crossed a line, and there are now consequences." This action would be incredibly difficult for him, a complete break from a lifetime of cultural conditioning. But it is the only path forward that truly solidifies his marriage to Jenny. It would prove to her and to himself that his loyalty is with her. It would be a declaration that their life together is his priority, and he will not allow his mother to sabotage it, no matter what tactics she employs. The discovery of Carol from Ohio could be the terrible, painful catalyst that finally forces Sumit to become the husband Jenny has always needed him to be. But the question is, does he have it in him? Let's not forget the long-term damage this has done to Jenny's own family. Christina and Dominique were the direct victims of this psychological attack. The guilt they must feel, however misplaced, is immense. They were the conduit through which the enemy gathered intelligence. They will likely second-guess every conversation they had with Carol, wondering if a stray comment or a moment of vulnerability gave Sahna a weapon to use against their mother. This creates a new and painful dynamic in their relationship with Jenny. Do they become more guarded? Do they stop sharing their worries with her, for fear that any information could be somehow intercepted? Sahna has effectively injected a poison of paranoia into the heart of Jenny's most vital support system. She has damaged the open, trusting communication that Jenny relies on to survive the isolation of her life in India. This was perhaps another unspoken goal of the operation, to isolate Jenny not just physically from her family, but emotionally as well. By turning her daughters into unwitting informants, Sahna has tainted their ability to be the safe harbor they have always been for their mother. It's a wound that will take a very long time to heal. Moreover, we must view this incident not in a vacuum, but as the latest and most technologically advanced move in a long pattern of manipulative behavior. Sahna's opposition to Jenny has never been straightforward. It has always been characterized by deception and covert actions. Let's rewind. The biggest deception of all was Sumit's first arranged marriage, a fact that was hidden from Jenny for years, with his parents' full knowledge and complicity. They allowed Jenny to believe she was building a future with an unmarried man, while knowing the entire foundation of their relationship was a lie. This established a precedent for profound dishonesty. Then there were the constant emotional manipulations, the threats to disown Sumit, the public shaming, the declarations that his happiness was causing her misery. This is a classic playbook of emotional blackmail. Then came the introduction of the family astrologer, a third-party authority figure brought in to declare the relationship astrologically incompatible and doomed. This was an attempt to use tradition and spirituality as a weapon, to frame her personal disapproval as a matter of cosmic destiny. Each of these tactics failed. Jenny and Sumit stayed together. So Sahna evolved. She realized her old-world tactics of direct confrontation and emotional blackmail weren't working. She needed a new weapon. She adapted to the modern world. The Carol from Ohio persona is the 21st century evolution of Sahna's manipulation. She couldn't break them apart from the inside in India, so she launched a remote digital attack on their support system in America. It shows a terrifying adaptability. She is learning, she is evolving, and her methods are becoming more sophisticated and harder to detect. The question is, what will she try next? The future of this family now hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of a knife. If the story of spying Sahna becomes public knowledge within the show's narrative, the consequences will be explosive. It would be a reunion special for the ages. Imagine the host, Sean Robinson, presenting the evidence on screen for Sahna and Sumit to see. The stock photo, the IP address, the leaked messages, there would be no hiding. Sahna would be forced to answer for her actions in a public forum. It would completely reframe her character in the eyes of the global audience. She would no longer be just a traditional, disapproving mother. She would be a documented, manipulative spy. For Sumit, being confronted with this on a world stage would be his ultimate moment of truth. He would be forced to publicly choose a side. The fallout could either solidify Jenny and Sumit as a unified team who has overcome the ultimate villain, or it could be the public humiliation that finally breaks them. Beyond the show, this incident is a chilling cautionary tale for anyone living their life in the public eye, and even for those of us who don't. It demonstrates how easily a digital identity can be fabricated and weaponized. It shows how our own desire for connection and support can be used as a vulnerability. Sahna's alleged scheme is a microcosm of a larger, darker reality of the digital age. You never truly know who you are talking to. Behind the friendly avatar of a Carol from Ohio can lurk the face of your greatest adversary. The tools we use to build communities can also be used to infiltrate and destroy them. Jenny's daughters thought they were talking to a fan. They were, in fact, being debriefed by an enemy agent. It's a level of deception that blurs the line between family drama and a John le Carré spy novel. The war just got a digital front, and the most personal information has become the currency of this new, silent conflict. What happens when a mother-in-law's fury meets the tools of modern espionage? We are all about to find out. The aftershocks of this revelation will define the next chapter of Jenny and Sumit's story, and may very well determine if they even have a future together at all.